Hey guys, Mr. Bouthillier here. I want to introduce the last section of Module 11 to you. So 11.7 is about the end of World War II. So we've spent a lot of time talking about World War II, and we're going to wrap it up here by looking at how the war comes to an end in Europe and how the war comes to an end in the Pacific theater, and what are some of the results of the war around the world and at home in the United States. So I'm just going to kind of run you through the Google form. So let me kind of just talk to you about that really quickly. To kind of get started there, you can see one of the first things, once you log in, this picture of Eleanor Roosevelt on the top there. But you'll get a look to start off with One American Story, General Farrell. He's one of the leaders of the Manhattan Project. And it's kind of have some of his personal reflections about what it was like being a part of that and seeing this first atomic weapon. Then you'll do the terms and you'll dig in. There's a reminder there about the timeline, making sure that you go to the cahoots and you stay practicing on the timeline, right? Then next, you'll watch a video about Harry Roosevelt. Because one of the sad things that happens at the end of World War II is that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, dies after guiding the country for so long. He dies before the war ends. Fortunately for America, we get a great leader in Harry S. Truman, who is his vice president, becomes president. So you'll watch that video about Harry Truman, and you'll have a little bit of time to reflect on that. And when you're done with that, you'll go on to the organizer. And the first section of the organizer, which you're going to jot down at least two or three things in each section, looks at what happens in each sphere of the war, right? So the Allies liberate Europe, the death camps, the Holocaust, how we learn about that tragedy that occurs in Europe. And then as the Allies march into Europe, deep into Europe, and what happens there. And of course, not only do the Allies defeat the Germans, but at the end there, there's the Yalta Conference where the Allies start deciding, okay, what do we do when the war's over? When the Germans surrender, the Japanese surrender, how are we going to kind of rebuild a new world on the ashes of World War II? And then, of course, there'll also be VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, which is on your timeline, by the way. Don't forget, May the 8th, 1945, Germany surrenders. And then after that, as you can see here in the video, you get the Manhattan Project. There's a short History Channel video. And then I also have there with the question of reflection by J. Robert Oppenheimer, who's one of the key physicists involved. And he understands this tragedy that is World War II, that is ended by another tragedy, which is the dropping of these atomic bombs. Ultimately, the atomic bombs, as terrible as they are, save the lives of millions of people. War is terrible, guys, but ending war is a good thing. And these atomic bombs ended World War II, and they saved the lives of millions. And there's a quote from him on that. So you'll answer that question. Then you'll dig into the section that looks at that, the Manhattan Project, what happens, and how it affects Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the two Japanese cities where it's dropped. Then I have a chart for you that I pulled out of one of our history books, looks at civilian casualties and military casualties, etc., for each country. But you're going to notice, though, that Japan has one of the lowest civilian casualties of all the major countries involved. So I got a question there that I want you to answer. And then you'll go on and you'll look at the Nuremberg trials. Short video there about what happens with the Nazi war criminals at the end of the war. Because unlike at the end of World War I, where the entire nation of Germany is punished, at the end of World War II, specific individuals are going to be punished. And so that's what the Nuremberg trials are about. So you watch that video and you reflect on that in a question. Then you'll dig into the section of the notes that look at some of those things. The creation of a brand new organization, the United Nations. What happens at the Potsdam Conference, which, like the Yalta Conference, is one of the big end of the war conferences that includes the great world leaders of the time, Winston Churchill, Stalin. Roosevelt's dead at Potsdam, so you have Harry Truman in there. The Nuremberg trials and the occupation of Japan, which will create a brand new Japan the Japan that we know today, a peaceful country that is a good neighbor in their part of the world. And then the last section, before we dig into that, you watch a short video about the changing role of women in World War II. And with the question, I have a picture of Rosie the Riveter there. She'll dig into that last section and look at how the war has effects on lots of different groups of people, not only all over the world, but in the United States. As tragic as war is, oftentimes there are positive effects on countries and groups of people within countries. We will see that with the United States as well. So there's some reflection that you could do there. Lastly, I have a question about the movement of African Americans during the war period. You'll close up with a video on Eleanor Roosevelt, not only her life, but her role in the creation of the United Nations, which is really important. Her husband dies. But she is still an influential woman, and she is asked by Harry Truman to be involved in the creation of the United Nations. And she plays a very key role there, and that's what your question's about. Then you'll do the assessment, and you'll wrap this up, and when you're all done with it, hopefully you can work on it piece by piece throughout the week, get it done by the end of the week, make sure you have it submitted by next Monday, because we'll be taking the test on module 11 at the beginning of next week. So make sure you get this turned in. We'll do a Zoom session on Monday. Make sure everybody's squared away or ready to go. And then we will take a test that I will post on Skyward at the beginning of next week. So I hope everybody has a great week, and I hope that you do well with the assignment. And if you have any questions, don't forget to shoot me an email or give me a call. Have a great day, guys. I will talk to you later.